Hare Krishna. Today we're observing Srutidharma Prabhu's Tirobhava celebration. Manchakalpatarubhyasya kipasindhuve vachapitan pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namaha. The Tirobhav means disappearance, and here we're really talking about how someone who we all knew and loved, Srutidharma, that person whose body disappeared from view. Well, it wasn't just his body, it was also his soul. His soul also went somewhere else. Of course, Vaishnavas are very clear that even though the body dies, the soul never dies. Tata dehantara praptir, the soul always continues on in another form. And for us, this celebration is not just a tirobhav, but it's a manobhav. It allows us to keep Shruti or reveal Shruti where he is, within our hearts, within our minds, to remember him. And through that process of remembrance, to actually really invoke him and live with him, because, as Bhaktivedanta Thakur says, Vaishnavas live in sound. And as we speak about Vaishnavas and we hear about Vaishnavas, we remember them, we learn things about them. It's the only thing we have right now. It's the only way to associate. And that way we can also offer our respects. We don't have such celebrations for all devotees. Those who really touch many, many people, like Shruti, then we organize such things. In many other cases, other Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, I don't want to use the word big, small, because there's no such thing as big or small, but some Vaishnavas we have remembrances for, others we don't. Let me speak about that a little later. And let me speak a little about Shruti, and I'm going to really try and speak about him, because often in remembrances it's as much about the me as it is about the him or the her. So I'm going to try to avoid the me and talk about what Shruti really was. And there's no argument. Shruti was a devotee. He was naturally a devotee. And not only was he a devotee, but he was a sadhu. Someone who was dedicated to Krishna consciousness, who was dedicated to Srila Prabhupada, someone who was dedicated to Bhaktivedanta Manor and Radha Gokulananda. Sometimes, in the opinion of some people, whose names I won't mention, a little excessively so. And he was also a preacher. He was a preacher who touched many, many people. He touched the youth, he touched older people, he touched Westerners, he was able to communicate with those of Asian descent. He was a preacher who got results. He had results in terms of convincing people to support the Krishna consciousness movement, to join the Krishna consciousness movement, and to actually go forward on the path of Krishna consciousness, because by seeing him, people thought, well, it works. And it works. He was also a person who really able to relate well to others, and I guess I just expressed that. But he was very expert. He was a very, very charismatic person, a very lovable person, a very sweet person, and a nicely spoken person. And perhaps one thing that many of younger devotees don't know, Shruti was a great actor. So he played Srila Prabhupada. It's the best Prabhupada I ever seen, next to the real one, in the drama about Srila Prabhupada's life. He also played in The Age of Kali, he just entered into that role in the same way that he was always naturally a devotee. He entered into that role. And he was also not just an actor and a Vaishnava and a preacher, he was also a son. He took Krishna consciousness back to the family. And so Dad, well, he was certainly a Vaishnava, but he didn't come to the stage of initiation. And Mukesh, well, we'll see, he still got some time. But Padmavati, she, in the last years, constantly kept calling me darling, which was the first disciple who's called me darling. Of course, she was old enough to call me that. And Shruti also really brought her to Krishna consciousness. And for those who know or don't know, he was part of the Shruti and Prana team. Everyone talked the Shruti and Prana, it was like a kind of a mantra. Shruti and Prana, Shruti and Prana, Shruti and Prana. The best Sankirtan devotees, collectors in the world, so successful as a preaching team, Shruti and Prana. And Shruti and Prana continued as that preaching team up until we had to ask Shruti to become temple president. Here I'll mention the I told him to do it 5 years. Well, when the 5 years went by, I told him, well, let's try it for a little longer. And by Radha Gokulanda's arrangement, it was just a little longer. But that team, that Shruti and Prana team, that was a far-out, fantastic preaching team. And as a temple president, anyway, devotees know he was an excellent temple president. I've done it many times in many places. I know many temple presidents. Shruti was really up there, considering the challenge that was laid out for him in Bhaktivedanta Manor. And he was a husband and a father who sacrificed his family. He sacrificed his family for the manor. Now, some people will think that's right. Other people will say it's wrong. I'm not going to make any kind of comment. But he did. He sacrificed because the manor was his priority. Just at the end, he wanted to make up for it, and I'm sure that he did. And in sacrificing for the manor, Shruti also sacrificed sleep. Devotees who knew him, he was one of those few people that he was going to sleep at 11, 12, 1 in the morning, but he was up in the morning and he was there for Mangal Arti. You could say he was a Gurukesh. He was someone who actually conquered sleep. As I'd mentioned earlier, he was a devotee of Bhaktivedanta Manor. If there's such a thing, Prana and Shruti invented this concept of being a devotee of Bhaktivedanta Manor. What did Prana do? What did Shruti do? Initially, when I first came to the UK, they were part of, well, I can't remember what it was called, because this preaching to the Indian community, it was called the Mahabharat Club, it was called ICAP, it was called the Manon's Patron, it was called Life Membership, it was called probably a whole bunch of other things that I can't remember. And he was the continuity that went through all of that with Prana, continually going from one of these to another. And not only, of course, was he always instrumental in fundraising, but he had a very instrumental role in the Manor campaign. And maybe Akandari Prabhu will speak about that later. As I mentioned, although he was a long-time brahmachari, but he got married. And the only reason I mention that is because I've never heard a marriage ceremony in which the father-in-law, in this case Mr. Glor, in the midst of his glorification, he spoke what he spoke. And I won't say what he spoke. If you want to know, you can find out. but it was very, very interesting, and Shuri took it on the chin. And as temple president, he was a person who brought stability to the manor. The manor had really seen a lot of ups and downs, whether those were caused outside from the local council, or whether it was other challenges that come to the movement. Preaching always comes with those things, but he brought that stability. And he connected with people outside. He connected with council members, with members of parliament, with the queen, with billionaires. Shuri connected. He knew how to connect. And he helped realize the construction of the Haveli. It was something that began with Srila Prabhupada's desire. Prabhupada wanted it 30 stories high. Okay, it's only 1 story high, but still, it's what Srila Prabhupada wanted. And no doubt many devotees have contributed extraordinary efforts to realizing the Haveli, primarily Akandari Prabhu, and then so many others who had their input. But Shruti was part of that team. And he was a team player. He was someone who was part of a team and who could play along with others. He could fit in. He was willing to submit his ego, his individuality, and see the greater whole. But at a certain point, the job was finished. At least his service has been finished. At least it seems that according to Krishna, Krishna considered this person has done what he needs to do. I wouldn't have thought like that. I would have preferred him to continue on. Does the manor really need stability with the Haveli coming up, and hopefully with this pandemic ending. I'm sure Vishaka Devi Dasi will see to it that it gets that stability. But nonetheless, Shruti was certainly a man for the job. And in those 2 years that he had to work off whatever karma that was left, whatever had to transpire between he and Radha Gokulananda, devotees were able to see him in a different light. Here was someone who just became like a young boy, and devotees could come and serve him as they wanted, read to him, massage him, take care of him. It was a new Shruti. It wasn't the Shruti that we were used to. And now we're into a new era. We're in a new era where Shruti was of the past. Although Vaishnavas never die, but from that practical point of view, now we are out one great devotee. And he was a great devotee. And no doubt devotees will miss him. For how long? Well, for as long as our memories last, because unfortunately people fade into time. How many of Krishna's eternal associates, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates, even get a mention? What to speak of a whole observance and celebration and feast and so on. And these are Nityasiddha personalities. We don't. And how many of them even have existent samadhis, or even a plaque so that people will remember them? When was Arjuna's appearance date? When did Arjuna pass away? We talk about him every day, we mention his name, but we don't observe Arjuna's Tirobhav ceremony. It's a shame, but that's the reality. And that's why in ISKCON, this exclusive remembrance of Srila Prabhupada's appearance and disappearance, that has to be the main focus that no one can ever forget. Even disciples who naturally want to worship their gurus and so on. My position, and many of my god brothers, has always been, don't make a big thing of it. It may be a nice sentiment, keep it small. Don't get into having regular offerings and so on. It will only be one more thing that will get neglected and ignored at some time in the future, because it'll be just another thing that time will destroy. Kalos me. Krishna says, I'm time and I destroy everything. And one thing that can't be destroyed in a Krishna consciousness movement is Srila Prabhupada. And that's the influence of time. What can we do? But anyway, for now, we should remember Shruti, and we should relish that remembrance. We should decorate ourselves by the remembrance of a great personality who moved amongst us, who lived with us, who we called Shruti. And by doing that, we'll also please Radha Gokulananda and Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman. Anyway, I'll go and pass it on all to other illustrious Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Hare Krishna, Srutidharma Prabhu Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srutidharma Prabhu Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. I want to thank you again for all that you've done for Srila Prabhupada, and of course, particularly in that context, particularly for the project that is Bhaktivedanta Manor, which, you know, is famous all over the ISKCON world as really a standard bearer for how a temple should be. And in that regard, as Maharaj also mentioned, both Maharajas also mentioned, so much of that credit is to Shruti Prabhu. Of course, it should be said that, and Akandati Prabhu's name was mentioned, and many other devotees too, of course, who have served at the manor. But I would also actually just mention Pranabandhu Prabhu in that regard, because I think Shivaram Maharaj said about maybe half a dozen times, Shruti and Prana, Shruti and Prana, Shruti and Prana, Shruti and Prana. But when I first became familiar with Shruti and Prana, it was often Prana and Shruti, Prana and Shruti, Prana and Shruti. So just to appreciate that too, and I'm sure Shruti would appreciate me appreciating those devotees too. So he served at the manor with such passion, such vigor, such energy, such dedication. And right from a young, his life from a very young man, etc., was 100% committed, as we've heard, committed to the service of Srila Prabhupada and the service of Bhaktivedanta Manor. He was a critical participant in the effort to save the manor from closure. I mean, that alone, just that one act alone, of course, it was an act that extended over a period of time, but that one act alone, you would think, would mean that Bhaktivinoda Thakur will be taking, or has taken, Shruti by the Sika and brought him back to the, Prabhupada's lotus feet and Krishna's lotus feet. And then, of course, also mentioned, we're repeating ourselves a little bit, but I guess we say it in different words. Then he went on, of course, to spearhead, again with a few others, but to spearhead the project that is the Sri Krishna Haveli. And, you know, when you're starting out on a project like that, they're really big things. You know, it takes courage and it takes faith and it takes, well, certainly hard work and dedication, but yeah, courage and faith and belief, you know, that you're going to achieve it. And he did, he achieved that. We now have the Haveli, which has been, temporarily put on hold because of the pandemic, but it's such an incredible project. Again, a standard bearer for all ISKCON temples and centers around the world. And I'm going to mention something else that people have mentioned, but I also have seen Shruti Prabhu play Srila Prabhupada. He played, of course, in the drama that we put on, or the ISKCON Bhaktivedanta Manor put on for the 50th anniversary a few years ago. And it was just incredible. It's just one of those situations where you're looking at it and you kind of, when I first came into the arena where it was being played, I sort of sat down, looked up and went to look away, but then immediately had to look back to double check that I was seeing what I actually was seeing, because it really did look like Srila Prabhupada, the mannerisms, etc., you know, the voice, everything just really looked like Srila Prabhupada. It was as if Srila Prabhupada was actually playing himself. And of course, we have to take into account, particularly with modern technology, there were no computer-generated images, and as far as I could figure out, there was very little makeup involved as well, other than a bit of tilak, affectionate devotee, etc. So it literally was just Shuli's purity which led him to do a perfect impersonation of Srila Prabhupada, if you like. I'll just finish by saying that, you know, as we all know, Srila Prabhupada used to say, don't ask, and actually Shruti himself quoted this many, many times, you know, don't ask to see Krishna, just act in a way that Krishna will see you. And I would just say that Shruti Prabhu, you were and you are the personification of that. So I'll finish there, I think, and would be really, really chuffed and in bliss if Shruti was with us now and we were able to embrace him. Of course, if he was with us right now, we wouldn't be able to because of coronavirus. But anyway, it'll be just, it'll be wonderful meeting him again. I hope that it doesn't take me too long to get to the very auspicious place that I know Shruti is currently residing in. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srutidharma Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Wonderful remembrance that you offered us. Dilip Patel Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. It's been a strange year. We've all lost someone we know. It's been a difficult time for all of us. And I'd like to offer my deepest condolences to each and everyone who have lost their loved ones. We've not been able to meet and pay our respects in person. Today we should be in the Haveli for this memorial program. Hopefully soon we will be able to. Shruti Prabhu, you have been instrumental in this wonderful facility at the manor. Thank you for leaving a legacy. You've touched so many hearts. Thank you from all of us. We are grateful to you for sacrificing your life for serving others. You always had time for all of us. You could remember everyone's name. I remember when I was taking care of you at Gokuldam, there were many occasions when you had visitors from abroad, devotees that you hadn't met for years. Yet as soon as they walked into the Haveli, you greeted them by their first name. It was amazing. Thank you for being personal. We all came to you with our problems, both spiritual and personal. You had a way of dealing with them. In my bad times, and there have been many, you were always there to guide me. When we had to make a difficult decision to switch off the life support machine for my brother-in-law, he was only 27, you and Pranamanda Prabhu were there. Without the two of you by our side, I don't know how we as a family would have gone through this tragedy. You were always there, didn't matter what time, helping us all daily. And for so many years, I don't know how you managed it all. Thank you for your kindness. At festival times, you made sure you personally thanked every single volunteer. You were the first one there and the last one to leave. You would make sure everyone had darshan and then go to the barn and make sure everyone had prasad. Thank you for being so caring. When you were diagnosed with the tumor, it was difficult for all of us. Why you, the most devoted to Prabhupada's mission? Very difficult to come to terms with the sad news. Again, you were strong and just got on with it. What you were advised by the medical team and Shri Radhika, she really looked after everything from your medical to personal needs. When we may have caused you pain while taking personal care of you, she never complained. The carers loved coming to look after you. You were always kind to them and thankful. You would say thank you every time we did something for you. Thank you for being thankful. We are all missing you a lot. I miss our Sunday mornings. You would join me in Prabhupada's darshan room for our morning japa. In the meetings, the calming influence, words of wisdom, always there at the forefront of all events. Thank you for being encouraging. I just touched on a few of the qualities you had. There are many, many more. Thank you for your selfless service to all of us and engaging all in Prabhupada's mission. Thank you. Thank you. Srutidharma Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. There's so much first-hand experience of Srutidharma Prabhu's qualities and activities. Kaushik Patel Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Kaushik Patel Prabhu, are you there?
It looks like he's struggling to start his video.
Can we have the audio, perhaps? Can we have his audio?
We've asked him to unmute, but it doesn't seem to unmute. Shall we play Prana Prabhu's video now? Maybe in that time allow us to have Kaushik Prabhu to start his video.
Hare Krishna, Pancha Kalpa Tarabhyascha, Kripa Sindhuvayevacha, Patidanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation for my dear brother, friend, mentor, and teammate Srutidharma Prabhu. By dint of providence, we met in our final years at Preston Manor Grammar School. Life for me at that time wasn't that great. My family situation wasn't that great, and it was just very unhappy times. The pain and the trauma and the uncertainty of it all meant that I was spending more time with you and your family, who openly accepted me as one of their own. Knowing my situation, you introduced me to Krishna, you gave me my first beads, and told me that chant Hare Krishna, spiritual life and service to Krishna are really the only cure for the difficulties and the unhappiness that this life is giving all of us. Your words were striking, and it pierced the fog of my confusion. With Krishna now a common talking point between both of us, between all of us, our growing interest led us to the Mahabharat youth clubs in Southall in particular. Every Friday we'd be jumping onto that double-decker number 83 bus, and for our ride to sunny Southall to spend time with the devotees. I remember we went to Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra in 1979 at Hyde Park, Marble Arch, where you told me Lord Jagannath is very merciful, very kind to all living entities, and whoever pulls the Rath cart of Lord Jagannath, his material life is finished. To that, of course, I laughed. I still said, look, I'm attached to my hair, I'm attached to my denims, I'm attached to my t-shirts, I'm attached to my high heels, all signature items of style in those days. And, we used to continue coming to the manor, associating with devotees, and your words came true, that in 1980, we joined the temple. At every step, Shruti, you set an example of immense faith in Krishna and your fixed devotion to Srila Prabhupada, a quality that you lived and taught your entire life. Your commitment to Bhaktivedanta Manor and ISKCON, your sense of responsibility was exemplary. Serving Srila Prabhupada's mission was your goal in life. Always leading from the front, and with me, I was just kind of assisting you in the back in some insignificant way. We would drive out on Sankirtan with the sole mission of somehow or other bringing the conditioned souls back to Krishna. Always thinking of engaging them in serving the mission of the Lord in every way we could. We would return back late at night from programs, and quite often that meant having a feast of chili lemon crisps, 7-Up, cashew nuts as our main meal of the day. And we'd return late at night, but Shruti, you'll be there regularly for Mangalarti. Whilst I was still in my slumber, you'll be there for Mangalarti and for the whole morning program. What incredible energy and strength you had, my dear brother. You set a pace which was impossible for me to follow. Since the early days of the manor, when we didn't even have money to pay the milk bill, through the turbulent times of Guru's leaving, to the campaign to save Bhaktivedanta Manor from closure, then the campaign to put a roof over our heads, then to build a new Goshala, and to renovate Bhaktivedanta Manor, building a congregation. All this, and for what we have to celebrate at the manor today, all this is a testimony to your incredible life of servitude and sacrifice for the welfare of others. Your ability to tolerate and remain fixed was tested in your final chapter of your life. Once the news of your cancer was revealed to you, very quickly you accepted your fate, surrendering to the will of the Lord with grace and humility. You told me that all our lives we've been telling people, you are not this body, you're spirit, soul, eternal servants of Krishna. And now my time has come to live those very words. The Lord showered you with His kindness and grace, preparing you for entry to the spiritual world. Though externally your body was falling apart, internally you remained focused, fixed on hearing the holy name and remembering Krishna's pastimes, especially Lord Chaitanya in the Gambhira. Your departure from this world was exemplary. After having the Lord's darshan and blessings, surrounded by devotees chanting the Krishna's holy name, you gracefully left this world to take up your service in the spiritual realm. Krishna says, Name Bhaktiya Pranasati, this is His guarantee that my devotee never perishes, and a guarantee that was certainly awarded to you, Shruti. I take this opportunity also to apologize and ask for forgiveness for my countless mistakes and failings in devotional life over all these years. I humbly request everyone to please come together and help support Bhaktivedanta Manor in every way you can. Let us complete and secure Shruti's legacy for the best welfare of our future generations. It has been my honor and my privilege to have lived and laughed, argued and cried, worked through day and night with a magnanimous and benevolent soul as you, Srutidharma Prabhu. A friend and a well-wisher to all, I will miss you until the end of my life. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you. Kaushik Patel Prabhu, thank you so much.
Sorry, some technical issues. I think Shruti sorted it out from wherever he is. Hare Krishna. I was requested to speak for about 5 minutes, an impossible task, because how do you concise an association of a unique soul like Shruti in such a short time? However, I'll try. An exceptional soul like Srutidharma rarely visits this planet, and I consider myself blessed and honored to have known him for over 35 years. He had a heart of gold, and love radiated for everyone around him. So Shruti had a unique, an amazing quality. He would make every person who came in contact with him feel special and important. When Shruti got diagnosed for brain cancer and the news was broken to him about the illness and its terminal nature, he simply smiled and said, "Oh, you know what? Whatever is Krishna's plans, they are good enough for me." And he showed absolutely no emotion, no fear, or no regret. I had the greatest honor of my life to be requested by Radhika Mataji to be part of his serving team while he battled with this deadly disease. And I would often feel dejected and wonder, Krishna, why Shruti? The only conclusion I had come to understand is that Krishna chose a very special devotee to teach us the final lesson as how to live this world, how to die. Shruti accepted his faith with humility and grace. He was not angry, resentful, or fearful of his predicament. On the contrary, he was full of gratitude. Like Dilip was mentioning just a few minutes ago, every time we went into the annex, took Shruti around the temple, the only word which came out of his mouth was, "Thank you, thank you." And he would thank anybody and everybody for serving Srila Prabhupada's mission. Even in the dark days when the disease progressed rapidly, he would be totally focused on his devotion to Krishna, free from any anxiety. Also, I noticed in the last few months, he withdrew his senses from the world around him, and he would become absorbed in Krishna's pastimes. He became silent and slowly started detaching himself from all of us. Ironically, 2 weeks before Shruti passed away, we had this COVID lockdown, which prevented all the friends, carers to visit him. And then his health deteriorated further. And I think it was a Tuesday evening when he must have been very poorly. Radhika Mataji sent us carers a WhatsApp message inviting us to have his darshan if we wanted to, because we hadn't seen him for like 2-3 weeks. His departure was glorious and dignified. He had the darshan of the Utsav deities, which Gadadhar Pandit, Gadadhar Prabhu, and Rishikesh Prabhu and I think other members of the Pujari team who were on the altar that evening, they kindly brought over the deities, so Shruti had the close and final version of the deities. So after the deities left, me, Dilip, and the carers, Gauri Prabhu was there. We decided to give Shruti a good bath, clean him up, fresh clothes, make his bed, and so he could have a nice rest that evening. So all that was done. Shruti was peaceful. Everything was done. As he was lying in his bed, within a few minutes, he left his body. When he left, he was peaceful, calm, and ready to enter the spiritual world. For sure, I know. Knowing Shruti, he's either on another preaching adventure with Srila Prabhupada, or he's serving Krishna in the spiritual world. A small reflection that comforts me when I mourn his passing is that although Krishna took him away from us so soon, Krishna was merciful in that he gave us the opportunity to show respect, love, and reverence we always felt for Shruti in the last 2 years. On a lighter note, as we all have nicknames and pet names, so during our time together, Pranabandhu used to call Shruti Scotty. Now, for people who don't know Scotty or are not people who are familiar with Star Trek serial would know that Scotty was the character who rescued crew members from any difficulty or whether they were out on some mission, and he would beam them back up into the spaceship Enterprise. So we used to joke with Shruti and tell him, Shruti, you are the only person who's going to make it to the spiritual world. So when you are there, and it is time for us to live, we would say, Scotty, beam us up. Hare Krishna. Srutidharma Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your description of Srutidharma Prabhu's final lesson for us. So instructive for each and every one of us. Krishna Purna Devi Dasi. You're on mute, Prabhu. You're on mute, yeah.
Namo Vishnu Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Manor. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Vishesha Sunyavadi Praschitya Nishitarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you for allowing me to say a few words. As Kaushik said, we can't say enough about Srutidharma Prabhu, but in whatever little way we can glorify him. Some of the things I had prepared myself, devotees have spoken, but still there is no harm in actually reiterating them. Equal to all, Shruti Prabhu would speak to anybody, everybody. Doesn't matter, old, young, black, white, disabled, abled, whatever they were like, he would speak. Whether they came to the manor regularly, didn't come to manor regularly, whether they offered service or not. So whatever situation was, Srutidharma Prabhu would always speak to them. He would appreciate them. And he was, so I would say he was equal. And when I was thinking about how should I glorify? And then I was thinking Krishna is like that. Krishna is equal to everybody. and it's up to us whether we actually want his mercy or not. So Srutidharma was always like that. Throughout my actually knowing him, he would be equal to everybody and never ever distinguish any persons. And at the same time, he would be appreciative of everybody. Basically, by showering his blessings, mercy, and everybody, encouraging them in doing the services in the spiritual life. So there was, I can't remember at any point I can say he discouraged anybody, he didn't appreciate. Always he wanted to, like, make everybody progress in their spiritual life. Even whatever little they've done, he would appreciate. So, the person would feel, appreciated and feel happy. And ultimately in this in this material world, that's what we want. We are looking for. Even though I personally am trying to be a devotee for so many years, obviously when somebody encourages you, then obviously you feel, okay, I should try harder. So Srutidharma Prabhu was always like that, always encouraging everybody. So that's one point I thought I should share. The second is Pragosh Prabhu. I remember just said he didn't see Shruti angry at all, but I know Srutidharma Prabhu, he could get angry. There are a couple of occasions. But, when I was thinking about, again, this thing, I remembered my own Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Maharaj. I've hardly seen him angry in my spiritual life and as a disciple once or twice. So similarly, Srutidharma Prabhu, a couple of times he got angry, but when he gets angry, believe me, everybody, just like it's a frozen situation. Nobody can say anything. And he, it's just like, standstill situation, because, Srutidharma Prabhu, when he gets angry, it means something. And he only used to get angry in extreme situations when I would say, obviously I can't speak for him, but I can just guess, when he felt, I think enough is enough. Devotees are not listening or something, and there is no reasoning, and so he would just say, and a few words he would say. It's not that he will get into any discussion or anything. And you could see that it's silence in the room, things like that. So that he would get angry, but occasionally when it was extreme situation. The third thing I wanted to share is exemplary. I'm not too sure if last year in Memorial I did say, but he was always exemplary in whatever way he would do. Obviously, it's been spoken before that he would be going to sleep at night and coming to the morning program in the morning. He would be there for Mangalarti. And that's so exemplary that, Srila Prabhupada says we have to attend Mangalarti, go to morning program, and he would do it in spite of his hardly any sleep. The one thing which I will never forget is, as I said, I did mention, but Pradyumna Prabhu told him many years ago, 15 years ago, something that, Srutidharma Prabhu, now you actually don't put your trouser on and rough clothes and go out and actually help for festivals, because that's what Srutidharma Prabhu would do. He would put on some clothes, rough clothes, and help. So he would go to different groups and help them for a short time. And then he would talk to them, encourage them, and then he would go to the next group and he would do the same. Obviously, he would be helping a little bit, but he would be also encouraging them, and also he would be giving them obviously some spiritual knowledge. Like also Dilip Prabhu spoke in the morning, they would have that spiritual. Prabhu would do that. So when Pradyumna Prabhu told Srutidharma Prabhu, you don't need to go and help. Just go and talk to them. And Srutidharma Prabhu said, no, I have to be exemplary. So I will continue doing this until the end. He would do that. He would actually put his rough clothes on and help anywhere and everywhere, and encourage every person who was there, appreciate them, talk to them. And that is one of the examples of Srutidharma Prabhu. One thing I miss, I'm sure a lot of you might say, some devotees, just about Christmas time, he Now it's a personal letter, like Dear Krishna Purna, and like half the letter or three-quarter would be like similar to for all of them, but there might be a special passage, like paragraph to individual, like, you know, to me as a VCC rep or whatever, and he would say a few words. And actually, I still have those letters because I do treasure, even though I know it's probably he's written to everybody else, he's, you know, appreciating everybody, but for me, it meant actually something special for me that I still have them. I thought till the day I die, I will actually treasure and read them at times. And just a final thing I'm going to say, because obviously my time, I know is running out. Janmashtami time again was spoken. So Janmashtami time in the evening when we have prasadam, whatever prasadam was there, at the end, a few times, I think some devotee said, Krishna Purna, don't get into making any sweets. Just make whatever you need to, because sometimes we didn't have help or whatever situation was. So don't make sweets. So once I didn't make sweets. I didn't tell the team to make sweets. And then he said, Krishna Purna, very sweet. I said, sorry, Prabhu. I can't remember what reason I gave him. And he said, no, you have to have sweets, because he used to like, it's not that he used to eat a lot. It would be a small piece, but he always used to like for himself, but he also wanted to see that we served all the volunteers who used to take their time to come to the temple and, you know, do service after work. And he knew, he appreciated that they took their time out from their work, from their home life, and actually come and help. So these are a few things I thought, you know, I could share with everybody. Obviously, it hasn't done any justice to glorifying Srutidharma Prabhu, but my time is running out, so I'm going to say thank you to Srutidharma family. Obviously, it was, as I did mention last year memorial, he stayed with us quite a lot with our family. So thank you for everything you've done for us, and all glories to Srutidharma Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your remembrance and your offering. Gadadhar Prabhu. Gadadhar Prabhu, are you there?
Looks like his video is not on Vishaka Prabhu.
Shall we go to the drama memorial video? Drama's memorial
Yes,
video?
we can do that.
Duryodhana, how would you like to acquire all that wealth in one big swoop? I like you. I want you to be the king. You should be the next ruler of this planet after your father. Not that Yudhishthira. He likes to play dice. But you know what? He doesn't know how to play.
Nah, Ambarish Maharaj.
Durvasa Muni, we are indeed honored by your presence.
Yes, yes. As it is the duty of Brahmins to travel and enlighten the entangled householders, I decided to pay you a visit.
It is our pleasure. Please, be seated. Let us serve you.
Now I will teach you a lesson you will never forget! There is no record of any incarnation appearing in Kali Yuga in any shastra. But you have not said anything. Why have you remained quiet? Vedanta is very difficult subject matters. Only great scholars like myself understand the conclusion of Vedanta. But at least you could have said so, I could have explained further. Babu. God, Khuda, He gives the most to the person who gives Him the most.
Good point. Whatever I have, whatever I receive, it is because of my hard work.
Huh? Anand Babu, you are making me unemployed. But Anand, we are friends. I see. When a man gets money and power, everything changes.
Listen.
Dear Lord Krishna, let me die immediately. Now that my mind is fixed upon your lotus feet, because another times my throat may be choked up and I will not be able to think of you. Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances, O Guru Shishra Prabhupada. I'd like to thank giving me the opportunity to say a few words for my dear godbrother, Srutidharma. I met Shruti for the first time in 1980s in Leicester at the local Hindu temple. He was a skinny brahmachari doing door-to-door with a group of devotees from the ashram, known as the BFF boys or the Yakap boys. At that time, actually I was a rock and roll Elvis fan aspiring to be a professional chef. But during my first conversation with him, I was deeply impressed by what he had said and understood that he was an incredible, intelligent person. And I knew my life was about to change. Very soon after that, I left Leicester and joined the Manor. I became part of the ICAP program with Srutidharma and the others. Those were the good old days. As a young man, he was always very calm. This never changed throughout his life. I don't think I've ever seen him angry. He was a personification of a gentleman. Despite being so learned, charismatic, a natural leader, I always felt I could talk to him about anything. We would laugh, we would speak about the deities, discuss management. And if I had a problem, he was always there to help. Most compassionate, well considerate, mannered. He had time for me, from the youth to the managers, and everybody wanted his association. When I left the ashram and got married, he was there and organized things for my wedding. And 25 years later, when it was time for my daughter's marriage, Braj Mohini's wedding, he was the first devotee to be told. He was so merciful that despite arranging things, he wanted to get Mohini a wedding present. When he found out she loved ice cream, Shruti and Neela arranged Baskins and Robbins on the front lawn for the wedding guest. Some things that inspired me deeply was his commitment to the deity worship. Despite all important services as a TP, he managed to come and offer Mangalati every Tuesday without fail. He would come in, wake the deities up, do the offering, offer Mangalati, do the worship. He was consistent and steady, and he was always humble, always turned up for his service. Also, at the same time, every festival, he was always there for the Abhishek, always, and helped whatever needed doing.
As a leader, he led by example, and example was perfect. The highlights for me when it's told to share some shastric pastimes and pastimes about each festival. Most of you, I was hearing for the first time. I realized that would be the mood for the rest of the day. When he's diagnosed and his final moments were very difficult for all of us. We didn't imagine this would happen, and we miss him so much. His wife, family, and care team were fantastic, and I'd like to thank all of you and allowing me to serve him during this period. I was able to read and chant to him from time to time in his room at the annex, and I never forgot my final service. Right, that was, I got a call from Gauri Prabhu one evening, Tuesday evening that was, I guess. And he says, Gadada, can you bring the deities over? And I said, yeah, sure. So I quickly took a shower. I bought my Giriraj, went to the manor, went to the altar. At that time, it was 7:30, the curtains were closing. And I asked Rishikesh Prabhu and a few of the pujaris, says, let's go, we're going to take the deities to Srutidharma. We took Sri Ram Shila, Gornitai, and I had in my bag my Govardhan Puja, Govardhan Shila. Went over to the annex, took the deities out, put them on the table, and we placed Shalagram Shila, Ram, on one side of the pillowcase and Govardhan on the other side of the pillow. And for a few minutes, we did bhajans and kirtans. And then finally, we said, okay, well, the deities have to go back. And then we left. Took the deities back. When I came back, we sat there for a little while. And then we said, do we leave the Giriraj over to the night, or shall we take him back? And I think that's the time when we took the Giriraj back home. And a few minutes after that, after they bathed him and dressed him, he passed away. Dear Shruti, you are a friend, and life without you is not the same. You always be one of my favorite devotees, and I ask you to bless me that I can continue my service until my final breath, like you did. Srutidharma Prabhu, Ki Jai. Thank you for allowing me to speak as well a few words.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Akandati Prabhu?
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhabhiva chapatitanam pavaniva vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Well, thank you to Vishaka Prabhu. Thank you to Shruti's family, and particularly Nitai for setting up this opportunity for us all to come together to glorify someone who's such a dear friend to all of us. I think of Shruti, and actually always did, as the sort of devotee's devotee. He was the natural devotee, the archetype devotee that we'd all imagine a devotee should be, and perhaps the devotee that we all wished that we could aspire to be, because he had the whole package. He was utterly faithful to Srila Prabhupada, absolutely serious in his sadhana. As we've heard, he could operate on practically no sleep, rise early every morning, the regular deity puja. He could manage things that, were perhaps out of reach for many of us. And at the same time, such a kindness, such a sweetness, as has been said. We kind of say, Suritam Sarvabhutanam, that he was a friend to all, but friendship, I don't think, quite captures the depth of Shruti's empathy and his love and his connection that perhaps each one of us felt with him. It's almost that if we ever had only known one devotee, and that was Shruti, we'd all have been safe and protected and held and supported on our journey back to Godhead. So I have to kind of offer kind of real thanks. It was mentioned how Shruti was part of the Mahabharat Club, but there was no kind of credit to myself because Shruti, Prana, Bhaktivedanta Swami, and all the others that were part of the Mahabharat Club were automatically devotees. And it was just my good fortune to be able to have fun playing the part of encouraging them to be part of the ISKCON enterprise at Bhaktivedanta Manor. But Shruti took that very seriously, and he and Pranabandha, because we see them together, are the kind of longest dedicated personalities who have made Bhaktivedanta Manor their life and soul. And for that, Srila Prabhupada would be very pleased, and it has been such a blessing to all of us. And as was said, Shruti and Prana, and I will, and in this regard, I must mention them together because all my experience of them throughout the Manor campaign years was this twin identity of these personalities. They were the kind of shelter and the bedrock and the foundation of everything that we were doing. And I personally relied on them absolutely. And when things would be bleak, difficult, or we just didn't know where we were going on how to deal with something, their association, just hanging out together, just chatting, somehow or other, it manifested a kind of feeling from beyond, from Krishna, from Prabhupada, that, things are all right, we can do this, it will work out. And having gone through fire together, I hope there's a bond that we're able to share eternally. Shruti was very wise, and his memory was phenomenal, and that made him the ideal kind of. He was a devotee's devotee, but he was the public's devotee. He was the global devotee, someone that could relate to everyone. How he remembered all the names and the birthdays and the children and their activities and what everyone was doing was just kind of mystic. And I think he did have mystic powers. And my evidence for that was that he would always seem to know when I had done a thing with the BBC on Thought for the Day, he somehow managed to have heard it. And I was thinking, how is that possible with everything else that he is doing and wherever else he has to be during those times, he's managed to pick up on that. He was definitely in more than one place at any one time, definitely had managed to manifest himself in many places. And maybe that explains why he was able to do so much service overall. So his loss, I believe, will be felt for many, many years. And it is important that that we are taking advantage today, and I hope it will be for many years to come, to celebrate the Tirubhava. It is painful, because if there was any devotee that we would wish still to be with us and to have his association and to know we could turn to and ask questions and ask advice for, then that would be Srutidharma. We wish he was there. And maybe for many of us, Krishna consciousness seems that little bit more difficult without his presence. But It's actually wonderful just to have the association. I think we've had nearly up to 500 people on this call. All of you who, are deeply loved by Shruti, and if we can share that love and affection amongst ourselves, then we can encourage each other, work together, and fulfill so many of the aspirations that Shruti had for spreading Krishna consciousness. Of course, when a devotee departs, we think, well, there's so much more that they could have done. But we have to remember that service is done for the pleasure of Krishna. We are doing it to be an extension of the wishes of our spiritual master. Krishna ultimately does not need our service. It is there for our purification. And Shruti's purification was completed much earlier than many of the rest of us. And therefore Krishna could call him back. So even though there's no one that I would wish more to be with us, at the same time, as we mentioned at his funeral, I think there's no one better who could precede us. There's an old saying when someone passes, not lost, but gone before. And that idea really matters for a devotee, because if there was anyone who could go before us, who we could then believe and feel, I would like to continue my association with that devotee. I may not understand the spiritual world. I may not understand how on earth I could be qualified for going back to Godhead. But at least I know I can sincerely desire to have the association of that devotee, to keep on serving in Prabhupada's movement and to keep on preaching with them somehow or other. That is, in one sense, an easy aspiration to have. But if we can maintain that sort of desire, then our future will be bright. Our future will be sharing ISKCON with Shruti and all the other wonderful Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who have gone before us. And it will be an even greater benefit and delight, because Shruti will have remembered us, will remember our names, what we did, and through his kindness, generosity, and his absolute gratitude, maybe he will say a few words of recommendation to Krishna to help bless us on our way. So I thank the family again. Thank you, Nitai. And thank you to all the devotees. Srutidharma Prabhu Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for inspiring us to carry on the legacy, the extraordinary legacy of Srutidharma Prabhu. So we'll hear from Bharati and Madhavi Devi Dasis, our Sunday Temple Kirtan team.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Rama
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for that beautiful, beautiful kirtan. We turn now to Kripamoya Prabhu and Guru Charana Padma Devi Dasi.
I guess I'm going first. Hare Krishna, everyone. Obeisances to all. I was thinking there are over about 500 devotees, illustrious devotees, and my obeisances to each and every one of you. I was thinking that you all could share something, and we could offer that as a garland of love and glorification to Srutidharma Prabhu. I feel privileged today to be able to say a few words, to be asked to say something. So when I think of Srutidharma Prabhu, I was meditating on his many faces. So Srutidharma Prabhu, he was the mentor, the role model, the teacher, the actor, as we saw, the friend, the son, the student, the father and husband, the national and global ambassador for Bhaktivedanta Manor and ISKCON, and most importantly, the leader. So I wanted to just focus on some of the wonderful qualities of his leadership, those things that actually made him the great leader that he was. As we heard, he had a very strict sadhana, and he would come to the morning program, as we heard, despite having late nights. And I used to love watching him walk around chanting, walking around Tulsi Devi, sometimes chanting, sometimes chatting. But the chatting was wonderful because it was his way of bonding with all the devotees of Bhaktivedanta Manor. He would kind of chant and kind of chat in between and have his arm around devotees. It was very touching to see. And also, sometimes on the altar offering arti, as Gadadhar Prabhu said, he had great integrity, and his wise counsel was sought after not only by us, by many devotees, but also by people of other faiths. I honestly feel that Srutidharma Prabhu put Hare Krishna on the map, so to speak, here in the local area. Because sometimes when I would attend a program, a multi-faith program, people would say, "Oh, how is Srutidharma Prabhu?" They had a relationship with him. They respected him for his integrity. He was reliable and trustworthy. And if you asked him to do something, he always did it. I had that experience. He supported me so much in my service. He recognized, engaged, and supported abilities in others. He delegated service rather than, he knew how to delegate service, but sometimes he would do something, and instead of him getting the glory, he would rather glorify someone else. I had that experience. He asked me to organize a dinner for all the Prabhupada disciples with Radhanath Swami when he was present. And he said, you invite everyone and I'll organize other things. So all I did was the invitations, but he organized the prasadam, the servers, the decoration and organization of the prasadam hall. And at the end of the dinner, in front of Radhanath Swami and all the Prabhupada disciples, he glorified me and thanked me for organizing this program. And I couldn't believe that Srutidharma Prabhu. He would rather push others forward and glorify them than receive any honor or glory himself. So he inspired devotees to action by his own example. As we heard, he was a devotee who led from the front. During Janmashtami, he'd be out there in the field during the setup and takedown, and he'd be going around to all the different areas and inspiring the different devotees. He gave spiritual guidance and protection wherever he went. And as Akandati Prabhu said, it was almost like he had mystic abilities because he seemed to be everywhere all the time at every program. I don't know how he did it, but he created a spiritual atmosphere wherever he went. His knowledge, and he was deeply knowledgeable of Shastra. It spanned all the sacred and secular, and his voice spoke to our greatest challenges with unfailing insight and boundless compassion. We used to joke with him because he used to always have the most appropriate thing to say at all these events, his little quips and his anecdotes. And we used to always say, "Where are you getting these from, Srutidharma Prabhu?" but he also always had an appropriate word for every occasion, and always some deep wisdom from the Shastra, but always also with his unique sense of humor. He loved to laugh. He had a great sense of humor. He was humble and respectful, and he actually accepted the opinions. He would ask others for their opinions. He was non-judgmental, and he took people from where they were and engaged them accordingly. I think two words stand out for me when I think of Srutidharma. It's empower and encourage. And I think we heard it didn't matter who you were, black, white, brown, old, young, from whatever walk of life, he would actually encourage and empower us. He was resilient and thick-skinned. Once I was in the corridor with him, and one guest came in a very aggressive and angry mood, practically attacking Srutidharma because of the queues coming into the manor. And Shruti just listened to him, let him have his say, and he dissipated the anger that this guest had. He was thick-skinned. I'm sure he did come under some criticism. Every leader does. Of course, we know he was absorbed in the mission. He gave his life, blood, sweat, and tears, everything. He sacrificed, going out every day, inspiring devotees, building relationships, and pushing them forward. He was straightforward and honest. His dealings were transparent. And although he was so deep and aloof, very Krishna conscious, he was also very down-to-earth and human. Once when his mother was ill, I was having a chat with him about mothers, and he had a little tear in his eye, and it was really touching to see. He had a very deep and personal relationship with his mother. But his dealings were transparent, and I think, everybody knows that. What you saw is what you got. He followed his leader. He was truly a Prabhupada man. As we saw in the dramas, he was the only one that actually could come close to taking on that role. He absorbed himself in it. But he also had so many Shiksha gurus, some who were on this memorial today. He consulted, took shelter, and had very deep and personal relationships with. So I think someone mentioned as well that, I think Kaushik Prabhu, that he had the rare quality of making everyone feel that they had a close relationship with him. And I don't know anybody, very few devotees that can do that. So those are just some of the amazing qualities that made Srutidharma Prabhu such a revered, loved leader that he was. And on a personal note, we considered Srutidharma Prabhu to be part of our family. He was there for all my children from their birth. He was our guardian angel. He believed in us. He was our well-wisher. He gave us so much support. He supported me through so much struggles that I had within the Gurukul. So we are forever and forever indebted to him. And I think in his remembrance and remembering of him, what we need to do is push on as he would like us to do with whatever strength we have left. I think Srutidharma Prabhu would be very happy if we all took up whatever we can do to spread Srila Prabhupada's movement and make Bhaktivedanta Manor even more famous throughout the world. Srutidharma Prabhu ki jai.
In March of 1982, I flew to India with 15 fellow brahmacharis. Our destination was Mayapur, West Bengal, where we were going to attend the annual Gaur-Purnim festival. We first stopped off in Bombay, where we saw the magnificent ISKCON temple and guest house in the Juhu Beach district. The following morning, we loaded up several taxis and asked to be taken to the airport. Once at the international airport, we discovered that our flight to Calcutta was, in fact, leaving from the smaller domestic airport. It was too late, and we missed our flight. So we decided to take a train all the way to Calcutta, 1,200 miles away. Unfortunately for us, although we chose to travel on the Howrah Express, the speed was anything but express. The journey from the far west of the country to the extreme east took 50 hours or 2.5 days. I knew Shruti a little bit at that time, but on this long train ride, I got to know him more. I saw that he always kept himself busy, talking with passengers and preaching to those who would listen. At every station, he would jump out, hold vigorous kirtan to draw a crowd, and then he or a krura would give a short talk in Hindi and sell books for 25 paisa. He passed out revri, small white sweets made of sesame and sugar. The result of this constant preaching was that by the end of the day, we would all feel enlivened. Our fellow travelers would ask us many questions when we got back on the train too. After 2 entire days and nights on a train and another half a day, then another 2-hour train journey from Howrah station in Calcutta to Navadvip, 100 miles away, and then a boat ride across the choppy river Ganges in the dark, we finally arrived by bicycle rickshaw at the gates of the Mayapur temple. After a few days in Mayapur, because most of the boys hailed from Gujarati families, we decided to spend a few days visiting Gujarat in the west of India. We passed through Porbandar, the home of Sudama, Lord Krishna's Brahmin friend, and then reached Jamnagar, where we took a bumpy night bus across a desert road to Kutch. It was here that Shruti again sprang into action, staging impromptu plays in Gujarati language and giving lively discourses or pravachan. He was in his element. He obviously loved the dramas and reveled in being the humble boatman who teaches the proud British scholar a few lessons, and the locals loved him. Srutidharma loved to act in plays, and no part was too small for him. He did it not for attention, but as a service to entertain and inform the audience. He could play serious sages, silly servants, and grandiose kings. He could sing, give speeches to crowds great and small, conduct samskaras, and raise funds. I learned from Shruti that friend making and relationship building are the most important elements in missionary work. How it was important to make people laugh, to be their friend, and to offer help and encouragement. When I asked him what was the secret of his success of many years preaching, he told me there were 2 special ingredients when visiting families: coconut ice sweets for the grown-ups and coloring books for the children. The parents would listen as Shruti joked with them and told stories just suitable for a jovial conversation in their home, but never asking for help until he judged it was just the right time. Over the years, Shruti was an indispensable member of the outreach team for Bhaktivedanta Manor and visited thousands and thousands of families. He was known for his ability to always be able to present Krishna's teachings in an intelligent and attractive manner, and he always had the right story or scriptural verse for any occasion. Srutidharma not only had just the right words for every occasion, but always gave the most appropriate gifts. Every time he returned from India, he always brought me a gift, a new book, or an item of prasadam from a temple he visited. One time he had been in Jagannath Puri and remembered to bring me some kusha grass from the Nrsingadev temple near to the Gundicha temple. I learned many lessons from Shruti, but the best was perhaps his sheer determination, his enthusiasm, and is being amenable to perform any service, large or small. I miss Shruti, and I pray that he blesses me now, just as he always did. Thank you, Srutidharma Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for your personal remembrances and reflections. Suchi Rani Devi Dasi will speak on behalf of the Pandavasena alumni.
Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshura Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna. It's such an honor to address everyone. So today, as mentioned, I'm speaking on behalf of so many devotees from the Pandavasena alumni and congregation who Srutidharma Prabhu's, he's impacted our lives in a really deep and meaningful way. And he was there for us throughout our formative years in Krishna consciousness. So for me, it was literally from the age of 14 to 40. So he was our pillar, someone who watched us grow and nurtured us, taking personal care of each and every one of us. And we knew that if we needed anything, we could just go to Srutidharma Prabhu, and it didn't matter how busy he was, he would make time for us. So every encounter with him was instructive because he showed us by his example how our existence is of value to the extent that we use it to serve others. He taught us to be magnanimous and not miserly with our money, our time, or our capacity to serve. So I'm going to share a couple of pastimes, personal memories with you that illustrate some of these traits. So I was in the ashram as a young bhakteen, and we were due to go on our first girls' sabbatical trip to India. So about a week or so before the trip, Srutidharma Prabhu stopped me while I was sweeping the corridor in the manor and handed me an envelope, and he told me it was spending money for my trip. So I was a bit taken aback because this hadn't happened before, and I tried to give it back to him, but he insisted that I took it. So when I looked inside, I was gobsmacked because it was £100, and I literally couldn't believe my eyes because it was a lot of money for me, and I couldn't understand why he was giving it to me because I wasn't a senior devotee. I was just a down and out random bhakteen sanita. So he had literally nothing to gain from this act. So I was really taken aback because I'd never experienced kindness like this. So after the trip, I came to see him and we were talking in the patron's office, and I was updating him about our trip and, you know, everything that had happened. And then at some point, a wealthy patron, he entered the patron office saying, "Hey, Shruti," and he had a load of gifts with him, and he gave them all to Srutidharma Prabhu because that patron, he'd just come back from India from a long sort of tour of India himself. So he gave all these things like embroidered shawls, incense, and all these different things, loads of stuff to Srutidharma Prabhu. And so then Srutidharma Prabhu, he spoke with him for some time, and then it got to that, you know, they were talking for quite a while, and it got to that awkward moment where I was thinking, okay, they're talking, shall I duck out now? Is it the time? So Srutidharma Prabhu sensed that, and he kind of signaled to me, just hang around. So after some time, the patron eventually left, and no sooner had he kind of just closed the door, Srutidharma Prabhu turned to me and he said, "So, what did you get your parents from India?" And I was a bit taken aback. I was like, I didn't get them anything. So I was like really awkwardly replied that I didn't even think of them. I didn't get them anything. So he then just said, "There you go." And all the gifts that had just been given to him by the patron, he just gave them all to me. He didn't even rifle through to see, okay, what's valuable or anything. He just gave everything. So, and he didn't know my parents. They weren't favorable. He just wanted me to build bridges. So I was stunned again by this kindness because he wasn't trying to look good in front of big people. He was just extending himself to the small people. Another incident that shows another aspect of his personality is that, again, while I was living in the ashram, Srutidharma Prabhu, he told me I had to go to Haberdasher's school to give a philosophical talk to the children. So Haberdasher's school is a really posh school that's right near Bhaktivedanta Manor, and I was fairly new in the ashram. I felt that I hardly knew any of the philosophy, and whatever I did know, I didn't feel that I'd be able to articulate it properly because I was terrified of public speaking, as you might be able to tell now. I'd literally, back then I was really bad. I'd start shaking and my voice would start faltering. I just couldn't do it. So I was trying by all means to get out of it, all means, but he was insistent. He said, "Nope, you'll be fine. You're going to do this." So reluctantly, I agreed because basically I didn't have a choice. But he knew that I felt very, very much out of my depth. Like he knew I was very, very terrified. So Srutidharma Prabhu, knowing how scared I was, he decided to prank call me. So he put on this posh accent and introduced himself. He says, yes, I'm Bartholomew Hughes, the head teacher of Haberdasher School. Just wanted to fine-tune a few details before your impending visit. And he kept me talking for a good few minutes. And I was like, yes, I'm looking forward to it. You know, I was just basically trying to not sound stupid, which I probably did sound stupid. And then he just burst out laughing. And then I realized it was him. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I've just been prank called by Srutidharma Prabhu. But this is him. He just had so many aspects, amazing aspects of his personality. So these are just a couple of my memories of him. So with Srutidharma Prabhu's departure, it left many of us feeling a sense of utter loss and bewilderment, because when someone has consistently given you so much without any expectation of return, you're literally laden with the bonds of their love. And the only way that you can sort of pacify your own heart is to embark on the tremendous task of trying to reciprocate. It's like you literally can't sit right. You feel that urgency to give back. And that's why when I first heard that he had cancer and he might not have long to live, I was panicking. I couldn't get my head together because I was thinking, hang on a minute, you cheated us. You didn't even give us a chance to reciprocate. But that's when it occurred to me that this is actually typical Srutidharma Prabhu. He is so selfless that the recipient of our reciprocation that's due to him, he wants that to be expanded to everyone else. Everyone that's here now and everyone that's due to come in the future. And I'd say I speak on behalf of a whole generation when I say that this is what drives each and every one of us in our service, that we want to extend that same selfless love that we were given by Srutidharma Prabhu, because he set that blueprint of selfless service in loving relationships that will build the future of this mission. So I thank you, Srutidharma Prabhu. Srutidharma Prabhu ki jai.
Thank you so much for such a powerful remembrance. Pradumya Prabhu, are you there?
Hare Krishna. Hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, my obeisances and best wishes to Shruti Prabhu's family, to Shri Radhika Mataji and Nitai, and my obeisances to all the devotees assembled here. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I'd like to offer a verse as befitting for this purpose of this evening. It's a beautiful glorification spoken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatan Goswami. Akshno palam tva drishadarshanam hi tano palam tva dishagatra sangha jiva palam tva dishakirtanam hi sudurlabha bhagavata iloke. O devotee of the Lord, to see you is the perfection of the eyes. To touch your body is the perfection of bodily activities. And to glorify your qualities is the perfection of the tongue. For it is very rare to find a pure devotee like you. In spiritual life, when we draw inspiration from a person, draw instruction, and repeatedly find within them guidance, assurance, and wisdom, the process of seeking from that person does not end when they are no longer before us in physical form. We have repeatedly heard this. There is Vapu and there is Vani. The latter carries greater significance in a devotee's life. The meaning of this hasn't been as impactful on me as it is now with the loss of Srutidharma Prabhu, the loss of one unto whom I belong and unto whom I claim I am because of you. And so the learning of Vani has become prominent. I'm trying to practice it through reflection on what I have received and through petition, calling out in times of challenge in hope to manifest the inner voice of his perfect guidance. We all have experience of Srutidharma Prabhu's clarity, his wit, and realized statements of Krishna consciousness, inspired words that put things right and conclude debates. I often used to wonder what he's thinking and where did that phrase come from? This year has been a reflection of finding those phrases, instructions, those moments of transformation from the formative years of my Krishna consciousness, and I've realized how they continue to guide and offer relevant insight for me today. I will share a few of these to celebrate today's remembrance. Authority. Srutidharma Prabhu once said, "The safest place to be in spiritual life is under the shelter of your authority." Don't be a whippersnapper. Become a servant. And remember, when you take rest, your head, literally, is resting on Pranabandhu's feet. You are protected. We're taking direction and instruction from the brilliant Akandadi Prabhu. We're protected. We hear from our GBC Shivaram Maharaj. We're protected. And they're all protected by Srila Prabhupada. This is our shelter, only shelter, and we mustn't become an embarrassment. Be selfless. One Ram Navami festival, I was in the midday arti, jumping up and down, relishing the kirtan. Shruti Prabhu came into the temple room and stood behind me. I turned and looked at him, and we smiled. I continued jumping up and down, and he joined in for a while. And then he tapped me on the back and called me outside and said, "You having a good time celebrating Lord Ram's appearance day?" To which I replied, "Yes, Prabhu." And he replied, "So who's going to serve all these people? It's time to set up for serving prasadam." At the end of the day, after thousands of people had attended, we ended our day sitting with the team and reflecting. And Shruti Prabhu said, "I might pull you out of something you want to do, and that's only for you to experience the bliss of giving up personal considerations in order to preach and look after Srila Prabhupada's guests. This is our life." Humility. Serving in the kitchen was a regular service for us. Pranabandhu, as we know, is an extraordinary cook, and we used to have regular small fundraising gatherings to make patrons, and they always included amazing feasts. I remember serving with Shruti Prabhu in the kitchen for one of these programs. Pranabandhu asked us to prepare vegetables. Then he asked us to chop coriander. While we were chopping coriander, Pranabandhu came over and looked at what we were doing. He asked us both, "Is this the way to chop coriander?" "I don't think so." And he showed us how to do it properly. What impressed me about Shruti Prabhu at that point was his response. He laughed, accepted it, and corrected the way he was chopping coriander. And as we continued chopping, he said, "We must always remain the menial servant of the spiritual master. Big devotee means you sweep the floor, clear the bin bags, and chop coriander the way it's meant to be chopped. Always find out how you can be humble, and when you strip away all conditioning, the only thing left is humility. All we want to be is a humble servant of our spiritual master." Sankirtan, complete glorification. Srutidharma Prabhu cleared doubts very quickly with dynamic spiritual perspectives. In a conversation about the challenges of going to door, he once said, "You are bringing a Krishna conscious experience to every door. Greet them with Hare Krishna and give them the holy name. Offer prasadam, leave a book, and offer them darshan by letting them see the picture of Krishna that you are carrying." He said, at that very moment on the person's doorstep, you are no longer in Kingsbury. That is the spiritual world, and you have just intercepted the person's life with good fortune. He then added, "Let's do this for the rest of our life." Sometimes we spoke about retiring, and he would say, "Retirement for us will mean 4 things. Read, write, speak a little something, and go door to door. We should never retire from meeting people." A style of correction. Before breakfast, Srutidharma Prabhu would always make a plate of prasadam for Jivapati Prabhu and then ask one of us to leave it in his. One morning, he and Pranabandhu Prabhu had to leave early for an appointment. So he asked me to make the plate and make sure it got to his room. As he was leaving, running down the corridor, he said, "Don't forget." And I forgot. Later that day, he found out and found me, and he said, "One can only become a better person if he really wants to become a better person. Get it together, work it out, become conscious before becoming Krishna conscious." He didn't ask why I had forgotten, nor chastise me for my forgetfulness. He pierced and corrected my attitude. An example. In 2018, when he returned from the hospital after his diagnosis, I went to see him at home. And when he was alone, I sat with him, I held his hand, and after a long silence, he said, "And now I have to be an example through this." And that was the final sutra I received from him, and it was the last time I was alone with him. Yet those words just captured what he stood for. That selfless personality we all continue to love. Thank you, Srutidharma Prabhu. I forever remain indebted. Please continue to guide and bless me. Thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for that thoughtful and thought-provoking remembrance. Jai Nitai Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mother, thank you very much. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patiranam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, I'm very honored to be here amongst this illustrious gathering of great souls, and I'm so sincerely feeling the presence of Srutidharma Prabhu, and I'm feeling that he's still bringing all of us together even after he's departed from this world, and I'm feeling so uplifted and inspired. So I would like to thank you all very much for organizing this incredible and amazing event, and also for giving me the opportunity to speak. I would like to share a few thoughts that I've had about Srutidharma Prabhu. A few phrases that remind me of Srutidharma Prabhu is never a harsh word spoken, a true gentleman. He always knew what to say and when to say it. He was very self-controlled, very sophisticated, cultured, kind, dedicated to a fault. He was always there for others. He had impeccable timing. He treated everyone like a friend. He was a servant to all. He was always engaged from morning to night, and he was a real sadhaka, a real sadhu. My experience with Srutidharma Prabhu as a young devotee and temple president, especially as he took up that service, I was trying my best to watch him and understand and learn from him. And I was seeing things about Srutidharma Prabhu, that Srutidharma Prabhu could show up at a wedding 5 minutes before he was due to speak, having just come from a previous engagement after being at the morning program and probably at morning meetings. He would speak impeccably, perfectly touch the heart of everyone. He'd then offer a gift to the bride and groom, and he'd immediately leave to go off for another event with such grace that everyone thought that he had been there the entire time. And I would be sitting there the whole time thinking, where is Shruti Prabhu? And he would just show up and gracefully do all these things. And then he would depart to go and visit someone else. Gadadhar Prabhu mentioned about deity service. And interestingly enough, Srutidharma Prabhu and I both used to do deity service on Tuesday mornings. And sometimes we would also meet. Every couple of weeks, we would get together on a Tuesday and we would discuss the service in the morning and how nice it was to perform this deity service. And then we would also discuss about our services as temple president and the challenges and inspirations Mostly, he was, of course, giving me guidance and support in his very loving and caring and gentle way. One thing we often discuss was the challenge of just getting out of the building at the end of the day to try to go home or go back to the flat or wherever it was. And we used to discuss about how it'd be nice to create secret escape pathways underground for me to have a chute out of the back of Soho Street. And he always said the biggest challenge for him was the infamous parking lot. When he would get to his car, he'd wind up being captured by some devotee, and we would always talk about he would explain how important it was to always give time to the devotees. We also used to commiserate with one another during allergy season, which is coming up now. Srutidharma Prabhu also suffered very badly from allergies, as did I, and we used to always share different potential remedies. He was always a person you could ask when you needed an answer on how to do something in the best possible way. He was so expert at so many things, especially in dealing with devotees, because he was such a gentleman. And he was always nice to everyone. And I used to think that he was such an expert politician that he knew how to, utilize each situation and act in the right way. But later I realized that this wasn't it at all. Actually, he was a real devotee. He was a pure devotee. And in that way, he was real with everyone that he interacted with. Shruti Prabhu sat with me and discussed for hours after it was decided, or I decided to change ashram. And he encouraged and inspired me, and he guided me. He facilitated the introduction of the first meeting with my wonderful wife, formerly for marriage, and he and Sri Radhika Mataji hosted our first meeting at their home, and he helped to organize our engagement party. He sorted out our wedding at the manor. He was a perfect spiritual father, and for this we both would like to thank you very much, Srutidharma Prabhu. In his last days, he was always so humble and so grateful. I just remember the couple of times that I had the opportunity to meet with him. Almost every other word out of his mouth was thank you, thank you. And he was just so naturally glorifying whoever was there in the room. If they would say something about him, he would immediately start to glorify them. Shruti Prabhu, I've been missing you for some time. You've left a very deep impression in my heart that will stay with me forever. And I would like to thank you very much. And I really wish I could have served you more and better when you were with us. Thank you very much. The last thing is, I just want to say that events and gatherings like this really bring to me and to my mind, to my heart, how important it is that while we're all here together, that we really try to appreciate, encourage, inspire, and be grateful to one another for each other, because time, as was mentioned earlier, Kalusmi, it takes us away very quickly. We never know when we're going to go. So please, and with a wonderful memory of Srutidharma Prabhu, may we all please love, encourage, and inspire one another. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srutidharma Prabhu ki jai.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Very much appreciate your words. So now we'll see a video, Srutidharma Das, the festival's memorial video.
riverbed has moved over years. Cell phones ring instead of bells. The sacred hill has almost disappeared.
And ashes at the river's edge, drifting side by side. Sun rises over new hotels, sages close their eyes.
My heart flows like a river to the sea. May it always be.
So we're very honored now to welcome Radhanath Swami to enlighten us with a few words, please.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patithanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hearing from so many exalted devotees who are so very dear to Srutidharma Prabhu is really left me speechless. The feelings of separation from such a truly beloved friend are beyond words. I'm just thinking at this moment how His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj would have so much wanted to speak on this occasion. Srila Prabhupada would sign his letters, "Your ever well-wisher." Srutidharma Prabhu really took that spirit of Srila Prabhupada as his life and soul. He personified, he embodied that mood of being a well-wisher, unconditional friend and well-wisher. We have heard from so many devotees how Srutidharma Prabhu, he did not consider any limitations in his own life of how he could extend himself to others. Whether it be a marriage or the naming ceremony of a baby or a funeral or an event with politicians or an event with at the morning program, he was always there for everyone. I remember I asked him when I came to London, please engage me in how I could best serve you. And he would arrange programs for Prabhupada disciples and programs for Guru Kulis and programs for the Patron Council and programs for the temple devotees and programs for the various schools, the Avanti schools. And he cared so much for each devotee, for each project. He really loved Krishna, and And it was that love for Krishna that manifested as his being a true well-wishing friend for everyone. Wherever I was coming from when I was arriving at the Heathrow airport, I would be bubbling over with enthusiasm, knowing that waiting for me at the airport to greet me would always be Srutidharma Prabhu and Pranabandhu Prabhu. And we would drive in their car together. And the type of soul-searching discussions we would have in the car on the way to Gauri Prabhu's house, where we would continue the discussions, having prasad together. Hours and hours, and it seems like everything else I did in London was a detail. The meaningful exchanges that Srutidharma Prabhu would provide for each and every one of us. And I cannot think of anyone in my life that could be a better friend than Srutidharma was for me personally. He was truly a god brother and a friend, a best friend. And the beautiful thing is, I know for sure practically each and every one of you is thinking the same thing. He had determination, so exemplary. We have heard what he went through in the many decades of his practice in Krishna consciousness. There were upheavals, there was social devastation, tragedies, but Srutidharma Prabhu and Pranabandhu Prabhu, so graciously, with such humility, they carried on with their devotional service. They felt the pains everyone else was feeling in those crises, but never gave up their service to the devotees. Never were distracted from their faith in Srila Prabhupada and Sri Radha Gokulananda. Srutidharma Prabhu, so empowered. He had such knowledge of scripture, such social expertise in dealing with every type of person, always knowing the perfect thing to say, and yet truly, genuinely humble. He cared nothing except to serve. He treasured nothing of greater value than an opportunity to serve in any way. Whether he was preaching to the Queen of England or chopping coriander leaves for Pranabandhu Prabhu, or encouraging a little child in the Gurukul. For Srutidharma Prabhu, any opportunity to serve was the treasure of his life. And it is that quality of how he loved that each and every one of us is feeling such a profound connection with him today. The idea of separation love and separation among Vaishnavas is a reality that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us. It is the love we feel even now from Srutidharma Prabhu, and the love that we feel in reciprocation that truly is his presence in our life. And in his physical disappearance, which is in many ways just too painful to even describe, we're feeling his presence more than ever. Srutidharma Prabhu, he gave us the example of a true Vaishnav in every possible way, an extraordinary personality, a devotee who Srila Prabhupada is so dearly proud of. Because yes, Srutidharma Prabhu is, on Srila Prabhupada's behalf, our true, genuine, unconditional well-wisher. He was a well-wisher for everyone at Bhaktivedanta Manor, everyone in London, all the centers in England, how much he cared about Srila Prabhupada's movement throughout the world. Mayapur, Vrindavan. He would discuss with me his concerns for New York City, California. He would always be enthusiastic for me to go to Oxford to meet with Shonak Rishi Prabhu. His love for his Guru Shivaram Swami Maharaj, his love for his Shiksha Guru Akanditi Prabhu, for Kripa Maya Prabhu and Guru Charana Padma Devi. He loved to humble himself and be a disciple. He loved to be a best friend. And he loved to be a servant. And for this reason, he truly is an exalted leader. I'm so grateful for this event. It is so important that devotees from all over England and all over the world could come together to honor a devotee who is truly Srila Prabhupada's representative in our lives. And I'm thinking such a tribute that after his departure, such an exalted and beloved disciple of Srila Prabhupada, Vishaka Devi, came to try to accept his responsibilities. Truly glorious. Pragosh Prabhu of GBC, all of us together, Srutidharma Prabhu, we glorify your life, your spirit of devotion, and we are forever grateful. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for so eloquently remembering his legacy and reminding us of it of that legacy and inspiring us to try to follow in his footsteps. So much appreciated. So we'll hear from Bhakti Purushottama Swami.
Hare Krishna. 1 year has passed since our dear friend Srutidharma Prabhu has left this material world and has left us behind here. So though Srutidharma Prabhu has left from his material body, we can't see him, but all his beautiful attitude always will remain in our memory. His loving affection and smiling face and caring mood will be remembered by everyone. Bhaktivedanta Manor cannot be the same as it was during the presence of our dear friend Srutidharma Prabhu. It's a different flavor altogether, and he was so surrendered to the Lordship Sri Radha Gokulananda, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman and Gaur Nitai. And during his lifetime, he started his devotion service from Radha Gokulananda's lotus feet, and he left his body at the lotus feet of Sri Radha Gokulananda. Srutidharma Prabhu and Bhaktivedanta Manor cannot be separated. So the memories are still within our mind, how good personality he was, very famous especially for his caring mood. Everybody, whole world, they have to go through the London, and everybody are cared for. He was very expert in managing people. Actually, though I am a sannyasi and he was a grihastha, I would always accept him as my counselor. He is such a stable and level-headed personality. I have never seen him lose his temper, and always accommodating others. Somehow or other he managed to engage everybody in devotional service. So he is such a person who will be remaining within the heart of all the devotees. So his contribution to Bhaktivedanta Manor is really remarkable, and his connection with Mayapur is also great. He always would keep Bhaktivedanta Manor connected to Siddha Mayapur. In many areas in Mayapur, starting from National School, Ekachakra Project, Gaurpurna Festival, every activities, he would keep Manor congregation connected to Siddha Mayapur. So thus, Srutidharma Prabhu was part of ISKCON World Headquarters Mayapur project. So ISKCON Mayapur is very much indebted to Srutidharma Prabhu. Losing Srutidharma Prabhu was a great loss for Mayapur. And on this first anniversary of Srutidharma Prabhu's departure from this material world, I would like to pray for him. Simultaneously, I will ask for his blessings I beg for Srutidharma Prabhu's blessings so that I can develop good qualities as he had, because of which he has become so dear to everybody. All general devotees, devotees in position of leadership, they will be so much fond of Srutidharma Prabhu. So I pray for him. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Tarine. It's not easy to speak on such occasions when somebody who is so near and dear left us, and we have to say a few words about him. Srutidharma Prabhu was definitely a very dear friend, and I wanted to speak a little bit about one of his many amazing qualities. That is the quality to make everyone who would be close to him or who would come close to him feel that he is very much part of the whole family. Srutidharma Prabhu was a member of big Prabhupada's family. Prabhupada not just established an institution, not just arranged a society for Krishna consciousness. He wanted devotees to have very close relationship like the family members. He wanted everyone who would come to ISKCON feel that he is very much a part of the big family of devotees. Ultimately, we all family members of Krishna, and Srila Prabhupada very much wanted to realize this vision, and Srutidharma Prabhu was definitely instrumental in this regard. I'm speaking about myself, but I'm sure that many other people can confirm the same experience. When you would be near to him, you would feel very, very close relationship with him immediately, practically from the minute number one. He would make you feel very much welcome and very much a part of inner circle. Therefore, he had so many friends. Therefore, so many people are grateful. It's because he made them members of Prabhupada family. And why he could do it? Because he himself felt very much a part of Prabhupada's family. The whole Bhaktivedanta Manor and to a greater extent success of Bhaktivedanta Manor was because of this atmosphere which he could create. I remember very much how I was amazed during Janmashtami celebration, the unity among the devotees, how all the devotees, volunteers would come together and serve together for weeks and weeks and weeks in a row to prepare for this huge festival, unbelievably huge festival with such an excellent organization and everything else. But all this organization, all these big festivals, all these big external quote-unquote achievements were only possible because everyone felt as a member of big family. Why? Because there was representative of Krishna, our eternal Father, in person of Srutidharma Prabhu. So I thank again and again to Srutidharma Prabhu and to all people who were together with him for realizing this desire of Srila Prabhupada to make ISKCON not just an organization, even spiritual organization, even wonderful organization, but to turn ISKCON into a big, nice family with very nice, friendly relationship. Bhakti is all about relationship, and in this sense, definitely, Srutidharma Prabhu was a great devotee. He was a great devotee in many, many, many regards, no doubt about it, because of the generosity of his heart, because of his knowledge, but first and foremost, at least in my opinion, because of his love towards devotees. Everyone who would come near to him would feel that he is loved, he is needed, and he is an integral and essential part of big, big family of devotees. And Radha Gokulananda, Sri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman, Sri Gaur Nitai are there welcoming him into this wonderful family. Again, thank you very much, Srutidharma Prabhu, all his family members, Shri Radhika, Nitai Seva, and all the wonderful devotees of Bhaktivedanta Manor who were great support to Srutidharma Prabhu, gave support to him, but also were supported and nourished by his love and his devotion. Thank you very, very much. I'm eternally grateful and eternally indebted to him.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. It's been 1 year since our beloved Srutidharma Prabhu departed from our midst on the physical plane, but of course on the plane of the heart, he will always be with all of us. Very few personalities like him leave an impact the way he did. Actually, it's hard to even reconcile oneself to the fact that he's not there, what to speak of the fact that it's been 1 year since he left. I've been like an ostrich with the head in the ground that tries to avoid looking at reality, trying to not think too much about it, but inevitably the mind goes again and again and again to him on innumerable occasions. Even though I am physically at such a distance, I can imagine what it must be for all of you in London who are living there and have memories of practically daily interaction with him. Srutidharma Prabhu's passing marks the end of an era, actually. What a remarkable devotee he was. Such a stabilizing and soothing and balancing person. He was the go-to person for anyone and everyone. Everyone felt comfortable approaching him. That's not an easy thing to say for everybody. it's not easy to have that kind of picture in other people's minds that you're an easy person to approach. And I've never seen a person, or rather, shall I say, I've seen very, very few people who utterly sacrifice themselves for others the way that Srutidharma Prabhu did. Somehow or the other, he gave the impression that he was everywhere and he was there for everyone. And it wasn't simply an optical illusion. He actually spread himself out like that. At any occasion, sad or joyful, he was the person whose presence was required. People felt it was necessary to have him. Everybody considered him their person. To have the good wishes and affection and the trust of such a large number of devotees is a very rare accomplishment, and it speaks volumes for the kind of person that he was. Another thing that I've noticed is that he didn't have an ego. He was always interacting with everybody in such a friendly way. And even if they were new devotees or they were devotees far junior to him, he would mingle with them as equals, as if they were his equal. And that's something very rare. It's not easy to be humble. It's not easy to deal with others who are far, quote unquote, junior to us, and deal with them in the same way that one would deal with equals and sometimes superiors also. There are so many memories that flood my mind at this time. When Pranabandhu Prabhu called me to ask if I would be willing to record a video to say something on his first anniversary, I said I would do anything for Srutidharma Prabhu. But then it's been hard to put anything down. I've been trying to think what I would say, and there's such a flood of memories coming and going about so many friendly interactions with him, the memories of who he was, what he did, and how his presence, or rather his presence, is being sorely missed by so many devotees. It's also a lesson to us that we should appreciate devotees more when they're present and not wait when they leave for us to have to appreciate them. It is still a very emotional thing to remember and to have to say so many things about Srutidharma Prabhu. I know that this is an occasion where many devotees are recording events, recording their memories of him, so I will not speak more. Suffice it to say that I am deeply missing my dear friend Srutidharma Prabhu. And it is not an exaggeration to say that not a day passes when I don't remember him. And I try to think of how he would have dealt with situations or with people. And I pray that wherever he is at Krishna's lotus feet, he will remember me and remember all of us and enable us to develop some traits of his sacrifice, his surrender, his humility, his devotion, and his care for everybody. His Grace Srutidharma Prabhu ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Pranabandhu Prabhu, for bringing back the memories of our dearest friend, Srutidharma Prabhu. Srutidharma Prabhu, you left us behind. You all were together. We spent so many moments of happiest moments of our life together. I remember first time when I met you in UK, when I was visiting for Mayapur project, and you introduced me to Pranabandhu Prabhu. Then I was talking to Bhakti Charu Maharaj about my interaction with both of you, and Bhakti Charu Maharaj remarked that they are one soul in two bodies. Pranabandhu and Srutidharma are two bodies, but one soul. They are so close and so dear to each other. And I wanted to be fortunate person to be part of your circle of friends, and you were kind enough to have me as your friend. I'll always cherish those wonderful moments we passed together, whether it's in Manor or in Mayapur. I remember you would come to Mayapur every year for attending meeting with Pranabandhu Prabhu and many times with Gauri Prabhu. And we would be going to Ganga together, taking darshan to Jagannath temple, and then mostly having prasadam. Prema used to cook nice prasad, and we used to sit together and spend hours on prasadam place, discussing from Bhagavatam to world politics, to ISKCON politics, to different issues, and relish association of each other. It was such a one of the most memorable and pleasant moments, happy moments we spent together. I remember one of those discussions Pranabandhu Prabhu mentioned, we talked about our departure. How would you like to leave this world? And Pranabandhu Prabhu mentioned that he would like to leave this world and his ashes could be just kicked in Ganga by Jarnivas Prabhu. And that will make him very happy. And both of us agreed, Srutidharma Prabhu, you and me. But I was wondering, I don't think any one of us will be fortunate enough to do that, because we'll probably not leave this world before Jarnivas Prabhu. But you did it. You passed this, you left this world. And I just spoke to Jarnivas Prabhu, and he's going to put your ashes in Ganga when they are brought to Mayapur. So at least one of your desires are getting fulfilled by Krishna's mercy. But we'd have rather liked you to stay longer. And Jarnivas Prabhu in his spiritual form would anyway put your ashes in Ganga. But what to do? It's sad and happy moment. We are happy you are with Krishna and Prabhupada serving, and we are very sad that you are not with us. Hare Krishna, thank you very much. All glories to Prabhupada.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. On behalf of the ashrams here at Bhaktivedanta Manor, we'd like to offer some humble words of appreciation and gratitude to His Grace Srutidharma Prabhu on the anniversary of his passing away from this world. Srutidharma Prabhu was our temple president for many years. More than that, he was a father, he was a friend, he was an inspiration. He was someone who was exemplary in every way. Oftentimes, Srutidharma Prabhu was the first person who would walk into this building in the morning, and he'd be the last person leaving late at night. He would show up every single day without fail, and he'd be on top form, full of energy, full of inspiration, full of enthusiasm, and ready to do whatever difficult tasks were required in order to spread Srila Prabhupada's mission. This past year has been a strange year, but perhaps the strangest thing is not seeing Srutidharma Prabhu here at the manor, around the building on a day-to-day basis, not seeing him offer a Mangalarti, not seeing him in japa time answering everyone's problems, not seeing him here in the BMF room meeting congregation and inspiring them and counseling them and guiding them in their journey, not seeing Srutidharma Prabhu give a class or receive a VIP, not seeing him on the back of a flatbed truck on the field setting up for Janmashtami. These are the images which are etched within our hearts of Srutidharma Prabhu, who somehow had the potency to be anywhere and everywhere simultaneously. Today I was reflecting that perhaps we don't see Srutidharma Prabhu here in the same way, but in another way we actually see his presence more than ever before. Srutidharma Prabhu was someone who invested the entirety of his being into Srila Prabhupada's movement. He invested all of his energy and enthusiasm and attention into developing Bhaktivedanta Manor. And he invested his own heart and soul into so many Vaishnavas. And therefore, when we now see all of these Vaishnavas doing great things, then we see that Srutidharma Prabhu was very much behind it. When we walk around Bhaktivedanta Manor and we see all the amazing things that are happening, then we see Srutidharma Prabhu and all the sacrifices and incredible efforts and endeavors that he made, which make Bhaktivedanta Manor what it is today. And as we go around the ISKCON world, we'll always meet someone who remembers exchange, dialogue with Shruti Prabhu or something he said. So yes, Srutidharma Prabhu is very much alive. He's always in our hearts. He's always in our vision. And we pray that we'll do some small service here to honor his wonderful life, which continues to inspire us. His Grace Srutidharma Prabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai Anilo Premadana Karuna Pracho Premadana Karuna Pracho Eno Prabhu Kota Gela Charya Thakur Gela Charya Kahamora Swarup Rupa Kahasanata Natha Patita Dasarago Natha Patita Kahamora Bata Juga Kaha Kabira Juga Kaha Kabira Eka Kale Kota Kela Gorana Tara Kota Kela Gorana Taira Pashane Kutibo Mata Anale Pashibo Pashane Kutibo Mata Anale Pashibo Goranga Gunera Nidhi Kota Gela Pabo Goranga Gunera Nidhi Kota Gela Pabo Sabasangira sange je koilo bila Se sabasangira sange je koilo bila Sangana Paya Kandena Rotamada Sangana Paya Kandena Rotamada Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur.
Translation. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality as Srinivas Acharya gone? Where are my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatana? Where is Raghunath Dasa, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishna Das Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. Narottam Das ki, Vaishnav Thakur ki. Jai.
So we're coming to the end of the program. We encourage all of you who have not had an opportunity to make an offering to please go to our website, eulogies.bhaktivedantamanor.com. The address is in the chat box. And please submit your offerings. If you have photographs or films or audio recordings of Srutidharma, please contribute those as well. We're trying to collect as many as we can to keep his memory alive through the years. So we'll have now another film, a memorial video, a thank you memorial video of Srutidharma Prabhu, and then a message of thanks from our managing director, Nilamadava Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank others that have helped me in my life. We never thank people. And ultimately, thank God. Thank Krishna. Every day we have so many opportunities in our life. Our life, unfortunately, is that we're always thinking about all the things that we don't have and all the things that we do want. And you know, Krishna is reminding us again and again and again that success in life is not about getting what you like. It is about liking what you get. So really, all of us are in the best place ever. Not just the Bhaktivedanta Manor, but in ISKCON, with Prabhupada, remaining loyal to him brings tremendous faith. In the greatest difficulties that we have, we will always see Prabhupada. And that will always be our saving grace, I believe. And sometimes we never know our fortune. And often we're not grateful. And you know, if we're not grateful, as it says in the Ramayana, there is no atonement for ungratefulness. Lakshman says that. And if we're not grateful, in due course of time, as Mother Kalangana says, you'll become a great fool. You'll become a great fool. So all of us are very fortunate. We know who God is. It's Shri Radhalandaneshwara. We know who his associates are. We even know where he lives. We even have his telephone number. Very simple. You can call him anytime, any place, anywhere, anytime. His phone number is amazing. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You can call him anytime, any place, anywhere. He doesn't have an answering service, a secretary. He will answer every single call. Lord Ramachandra said to Hanuman, don't become proud. The spider is doing something which he's capable of, but he's doing it fully. So each one of us exert whatever we are capable of doing fully, not leaving any punches behind. Then we too can be on that list, on that bus, that ISKCON bus, which leaves very frequently back to Goloka Vrindavan. We can board it, and our name will be on that check-off list when it comes. We can also take this opportunity
to ask for forgiveness, because I think that's a big part of Vaishnava culture. We say and do things that we didn't mean whenever it is in our lives. Hare Krishna.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruvai Namaha. Vanchakalpatruvasya Kripa Sindhu Bhayavacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of all the devotees at the temple at Bhaktivedanta Manor to thank each and every one of you for joining us this evening. A truly memorable evening we've had. And of course, the best person who could thank each and every individual is none other than His Grace Srutidharma Prabhu. For towards the end of his pastimes here, his mantra became thank you, thank you, thank you. So we take this opportunity to thank the devotees who have so kindly arranged for the virtual technicalities. And it's always our karma. He would always say this. It was always our karma to have some technical problems, from sound systems to virtual to video. So one important aspect of thanking, he'd mentioned one time to me, he said, Neela, always breathe full of gratitude. It's so important. And we take this opportunity to thank all the speakers. Once again, Vanchakalpatruvasya Kripa Sindhu Bhayavacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda ki jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, everyone. So happy to be with all of you. And this video is trying to capture Bhaktivedanta Manor's little history. So we hope you all can associate with it. And thank you very much for watching this video. Hare Krishna.
To me, these rooms are very much an inspiration. Prabhupada's presence is still in these rooms, very much so. And every time I'm here, it's one opportunity for me to meditate upon realigning, rededicating my efforts to serving to Prabhupada's mission. Prabhupada gave us so much. He gave his whole life to bring Krishna consciousness, give to us. Amongst the three of us, there is no service that's too small and no service that's too large. We have never differentiated. We do whatever is required to be done. We've always done that. And also, Bhaktivedanta Manor, we have through years built up a very strong group of serious individuals from our congregation. Very, very sincere, very committed, and through those group, that commitment of theirs, that have also helped us to do what we have, try to do it, Bhaktivedanta Manor. So through ourselves, we've never refused any services, and we have a very good group, very good patrons council, and who've always been there with us. Am I right or no?
Yeah, I think Pranabandhu is absolutely right. I think we have a very good team of congregation who are really extremely active, and they want to do things for us. So I think that's really played a huge part in the success of Bhaktivedanta Manor. So that team of congregation is really, I think, our great success here at the Manor. So I think that's one of our one of our secrets, I think, here. Having a small team that's really working behind the scenes, and practical people, not philosophers. Because often you get lots of philosophers.
The only reason you're looking at me at that point.
No, you always get lots of philosophers in any team who are really great, but by the end of the day you find that nothing's been accomplished. Everyone's still celebrating what we've achieved, but nothing's been achieved. So I think we've got some good practical people, which has really helped us.
Like, I was just this insignificant person from Glasgow, and from the day I came here, this place just offered me a wealth of opportunity and service, and I just grabbed it. I just grabbed it and went as far as I could with it. It's been a roller coaster ride, really, but I mean, it's an incredible place, and I'd wish that on anybody. Just see the opportunity and take it. Don't wait around. Don't let your life pass by. See the opportunity and just take it. Do wonderful things for Prabhupada. It's not always that we've got on all the time. No. You know, Shruti, I think, has been a real balancing force in the relationship. Because, you know, Prana and me are very strong-minded people. You know, we get on with things, we do things or whatever, and Shruti's been much more about holding the relationships together, yeah? Holding us together, holding things together, making sure the people that can do, this is a really important thing, making sure that people that can do things are able to get on and do them, because there's a certain nature required for that. And I think that's been a major thing that Shruti's helped with. But at the end of the day, what's been important to us is most certainly our relationship. Yeah. So no matter what, we fall out, we get upset with each other, maybe need a little bit of break for each other.
I think as I read through the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, and I concluded on it, I concluded that the highest part of the philosophy is serving Vaishnavas. So I thought to myself, okay, so that's what we need to do. We need to serve Vaishnavas. So I've always had that thing that I want to serve Vaishnavas. So somehow, as the years went on, I got the opportunity to do that. And I felt, wow, that's really good. That I've got this opportunity to serve Vaishnavas. And I thought to myself, wow, finally the philosophy is coming together with the practice. That I can serve the Vaishnavas, you know.
I think you experience the grace of Krishna in friendships, you know. Sometimes it can feel like Krishna is very silent in your most difficult times. And I remember sitting over here, and I remember you sitting over here. And I was going through such challenging difficulties, believe me, like I'd never gone through in my life before. And I sat there quite bewildered. And he was sitting over here, and he started crying. There was tears. There was just tears coming down his face. And I just thought, you know, when I see the kindness or the grace or the empathy of Krishna's devotee, then I wonder, well, what is Krishna like? If this is just the devotee. And those were moments of tremendous affirmation.
Wow.
You know, isn't it?
I think that's what made our relationship work so well. Yeah. Because it was real in that way.
Yeah.
That the three of us knew each other. That ultimately, you know, we are friends.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of was the main thing which really worked in our relationship, that we realized ultimately beyond all the bits and pieces, we are just childhood friends. I always saw that when we were working to get the Haveli together, it was a facility for expanding the preaching. It wasn't just another facility for increasing whatever we were doing. It was actually a preaching aspect. So I'd like to see it used for the preaching part of the next phase of Bhaktivedanta Manor.
And what will the Haveli bring in the future? Well, I think the Haveli will help to make Bhaktivedanta Manor a real oasis of Krishna consciousness for the whole of UK, for everyone. Because we'll have space, we'll have facilities where many different types of programs can be accommodated, and not that we are sitting on top of each other or sitting on top of each other's laps. And I think that just means so much to so many hundreds and thousands of people, to just have a simple facility to be able to learn about Krishna consciousness. And I think it will put Bhaktivedanta Manor as a perfect place where one can experience and learn about Krishna consciousness.
A festival of colors is what I think when I think of Bhaktivedanta Manor. I think of the golden color of Lord Chaitanya, how he's radiating through the manor, because the manor is all about Lord Chaitanya and nothing else.
One thing the defense lawyer for the council said during the trial, the appeal, was that they spoke about the condition of the building, and they said that the very fact that the Hare Krishnas are the worst people that this building should be in the hands of. And that stuck in my mind. And so together, everybody pulled together and we restored the entire manor. And then we wanted to get planning permission for the Goshala. And we all worked together for that. And we got so many rejections, we got so many dismissals, that finally then we got permission. And all together we built the Goshala. And then building beyond that here was beyond our imagination. But that's the things that we always chase, those things beyond our imagination. And miraculously, after many, many, many years, we got permission to build the Haveli. And I don't think we should ever take that for granted, ever in our lives. It's a beautiful thing that's happened in our lives. And we're all, somehow or other, how do we become worthy of that? How do we become worthy of the opportunities and the blessings we've all had here at Bhaktivedanta Manor? I don't know, I'll spend the rest of my life trying to figure that. There's really no one who deserves this more than this community at Bhaktivedanta Manor.
And it's really, now we just have to get on with it, come together, build it, pay for it, and leave no debt for the future generations. That's how important it is.
I believe the community will rally together to come and pull the Sri Krishna Haveli together, because it's their project. It's a project which they've been waiting for such a long time. So it's finally arrived, and everybody wants to pull it together. So our request is all of you come and support us in this worthy cause. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
For thousands of lifetimes I've loved you, but I'm never known.
Hey, since I joined, I haven't had one day off. I just thought I'd tell you, all of you.
But my mind won't let go.
Hare Krishna, dear Mother Vishaka and all the devotees, Vaishnavas and assembled here. Thank you for joining us here on this memorial service. That was the last video that we had in the bag at the last minute, as you always. Thank you for a wonderful, wonderful memorial and so many lovely messages and amazing, nourishing sort of our souls and inspiring us all. We will call it the night there. I wish you all a very, very good night or very, very good morning wherever you are. And San Krishna Priyadas on behalf of School of Bhakti just signing out and wishing you all a wonderful evening and a day. Hare Krishna. Panchakalpatarupescha kripasindhuvyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. the 40 Vaishnavavrinda ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.